we're going to look at the challenges facing the new Obama administration when it comes to the Middle East. And by the Middle East, we're talking from the Mediterranean to the Persian Gulf.
As I see it, the diplomatic problem that Obama faces. I mean, I think the first thing is that unlike both his predecessors, he's decided to make this a priority from day one. The divisions are within the parties as well. So just to take one obvious area, we're now about to see some attempt to reunite in some sort of way Fatah and Hamas. That will prove extremely difficult. We're about to have an Israeli election which will produce, as all Israeli elections do, a divided outcome and a tortuous process of coalition building.
Definitely he would behave in a different way than any other American presidents, because usually in the Middle East we used to see that any American president elected, he will take at least a year to start looking at conflicts in the region. With Obama, even the day before he was elected, the day of inauguration, he called, or his office called, the Palestinian president to tell him, tomorrow your first call would be from the president at 8 o'clock in the morning, which really reflects for many things for us in the region, that it's practically right on the top of the agenda. What Obama differs from any other president, his knowledge, detailed knowledge of the conflict in the region.
The president has immediately appointed an envoy. There are still questions about the exact mandate of this envoy and about the amount of power and access he will have to the president. So it could be an effort done in earnest and genuine willingness to solve the problem quickly. But you have to be mindful that President Obama comes to the White House on the heels of at least 40 years of diplomatic efforts by his predecessors, which have yielded nothing enduring and of everlasting substance. So if I was Obama, I would look at this crisis and say, if I dip into it as intensely and as passionately and as committedly as the world wants me to be right now, and I fail, this failure early on in the presidency will doom my presidency even in the first term. So I think, and that's my take, that there will be an effort to restart the process to show an increased involvement and dedication at the highest levels on the part of the presidency to solve this process, but do not expect a peace treaty with a handshake and with peace and love flourishing in that part of the world anytime soon. Priorities lie elsewhere.
I think Obama's presidency has already posed a serious dilemma for the Iranian leadership about what to do regarding him. The dilemma is his presidency a golden opportunity for Iran to improve relationship with the United States after 30 years of hostility, or he is a more serious threat to Iran than the Bush administration? I think the Iranians are aware that obviously Obama is more popular, not inside in the United States, but throughout the world. And it is easy for him to forge a coalition if it comes to that point that more force is needed. So Iranians, I'm sure, are aware of that he is more likely to be accepted by the international community if it comes to the point when there is more force on Iran, economic sanctions, or even, God forbid, war on Iran. On the other hand, I think the Iranian revolution is built upon anti-Americanism. Anti-Americanism, I think, is a tool of internal policy to a large extent. Iran uses anti-Americanism as a tool to mobilize its forces, its supporters, to suppress opposition. A lot of people in Iran are accused of being lackeys of the United States, spies for the United States. If United States is a friend, who you accuse your opponents be of in the interest. And But at the same time, I think Iran and the United States have a lot of common interest in the region. And that is where I think there could be a rapprochement between the two sides. Iran has strong cards in the region, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in the Middle East, Hamas, Hezbollah. And I hear a lot of people, I mean politicians, accusing Iran of interfering into Iraqi affairs. I don't really think it is as simple as that. It is, as far as I can remember, this is the first time there is a government in Baghdad which is friendly to Iran. And I think the United States and the West have a strategic common interest with Iran. Probably Iran is the only country in the region which has this common interest with the West to make the current government in Baghdad successful and stay in power. In Afghanistan, I think they also have a common interest. Iran actually helped the West when Taliban were overthrown. And the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, as far as Iran is concerned, are Sunni extremists, and Iranians are Shiite extremists, perhaps, and they don't go along. So there is another interest there, and I think Iran can actually use, the United States and the West can use, maybe, I mean, at one point, even Iranian forces in Afghanistan to defeat the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda. And I think, and also if the Middle East issue is resolved, Iran would be denied one of its strongest cards. Iran is portrayed itself these days as the main supporter of Hamas, which probably is one of the strong supporters of Hamas, and Hezbollah in Lebanon. I think if there is a comprehensive Middle East peace process, Iran would be denied of one of its strongest cards.
The Europeans are divided on all those issues. They have different interests, different approaches, and their foreign policy, their common foreign policy always ends up being the lowest common denominator. However, especially on the issue of Iran, what matters ultimately is the position of the bigger players. If you look at the balance of trade between the two sides, Europe and on the one hand and the Iranians on the other, it's really the bigger players who are also negotiating on behalf of the European Union who matter so much. Of course, there's countries like Greece who draw about half of its national oil consumption from Iran. So there are factors. There's Austria, who's investing significantly.
But we know it's been the EU3.
The point is that Europe has the key to a much more effective, tighter, and painful sanction regime. And what the Americans, and certainly what Obama surrogates have been saying to the Europeans since November is the following. You have been asking us to speak directly to Tehran. You have been saying the Iranians keep dismissing our proposals because they say you don't have the Americans on board. We want America. We Americans now, under this new administration, will deliver what you think is critical to moving the dialogue forward and solving the nuclear standoff. But the trade-off is that while America will provide the bigger carrot in the form of a negotiator who is about to be appointed, who will handle the Iranian file, and who most likely will be Dennis Ross, the trade-off is we talk to them, you increase the sanction pressure, because the Americans can do all sorts of things in the sanction business. They can shut off banks, they can cut the Iranians out of the dollar zone, and so on and so forth. They can do search and seizure in the Gulf of Aden, and etc. But they can't hurt them significantly, although the financial sanctions have hurt the Iranians badly. Europe can do a lot more. So the trade-off will be America says, we talk to Iran, and Europe does the sanctions. And that's what they're talking about right now.